Altos is brought to you with the kind compliments of Rituals Coffee House.
Good evening and welcome to Altos, your weekly news and current affairs program produced by the Catholic News and broadcast on Trinity TV and TTT. Here's a look at this week's top stories. Migrant children settle into their classrooms. No issues have been reported thus far. Roman Catholic bishop in Guyana describes growing crime and violence in the region as a cancer. A young Carmelite priest has a message for youth who choose a life of crime. The Pope begins a historic 12-day trip to Asian Pacific nations. And later we speak with Father Harold Imamsha on the just concluded Provincial Conference of Diocesan Priests. And now for our top story. Venezuelan migrant children settled into schools this week as a new school term began. Approximately 16 Catholic schools have accepted migrant children, and more will continue to enter the school system in the coming months as they meet the criteria set out by the state. Laura Pickford-Gordon has more in this story.
Migrant children who were successful in meeting the criteria to enter schools arrived ready in uniform at the Maraval RC School and were sent to second year, Standard 3 and Standard 4 classes. Altos understands that the children were settling in well with their classmates and were comfortably bilingual. Teachers were encouraged to pair the Venezuelan children with student mentors. Other migrant children were placed at the St. David's RC and La Romaine RC schools. Education Minister Dr. Nian Gatsby-Dolly told Altos that she had received no untoward reports. On Friday, 23rd August, migrant students received their acceptance letters to attend various primary schools. At that time, Minister Gatsby-Dolly said this will be an ongoing process, and as students meet the required criteria, they will be placed in schools.
We wish the students positive experiences in their respective schools. And while some migrant children are now enrolled in formal education, some others are being taught at migrant ministries. One such ministry is at the St. Dominic's RC Church in Pinal, the Ray of Hope facility. Altos videographer Barry Sideno spoke with Christina John, the coordinator of the migrant ministry. And as Roger Sand tells us, John says she's happy that migrant children have found a place in the school system.
There are 93 migrant children enrolled at the Ray of Hope in Pinal, but coordinator of the migrant ministry, Christina John, told Altos there are many other migrant children who have difficulty getting here.
The other children have a lot of issues because of transportation, some of them not living close to the parish.
Books and school supplies come from donors, but parents are also required to contribute.
Some organization will donate books for us. Sometimes we get books from the EMMR and other private businesses donate books sometimes. Of course, parents have to meet us with half of the supplies.
John says that the children are taught using the local curriculum.
We teach social study, religious education, phonics, maths, penmanship, science, creative writing, spelling and sight words, history and geography of Venezuela.
She said while many parents feel comfortable sending their children to the facility, she is grateful they now have an opportunity to enter the school system.
I think it's a great and amazing opportunity for children to have the opportunity now to go to local school because they will be able to learn more and they will have access to other learning experiences.
The migrant ministry in this community was started in 2018 by then parish priest Father Robert Christo, and in the 6 years has provided help for more than 700 migrants and their children. I'm Roger Sant reporting for Catholic News Altos.
And while students in Trinidad and Tobago and mainland Grenada have returned to classrooms, students in Grenada's dependencies of Carriacou and Petite Martinique, devastated by Hurricane Beryl, will have to wait a little while longer before they can return to classrooms. Education Minister David Andrew told a news conference schools are still being used as shelters.
Fortunately for us, we have just had passed in the lower house the supplementary budget, which we know will be used in assisting to provide housing repair for some persons who are currently occupying shelters. So that's a matter of discussion, because we have to clear the schools from the persons being used, from the persons using them as shelters, before we are able to move our students in. And the same sanitization and deep cleaning will take place in those schools as well.
Minister Andrews said discussions will be held with stakeholders, but he anticipates it may be another few weeks before schools reopen. The minister also announced that a one-year package, inclusive of fees, has been worked out for students from Carriacou and Petit Martinique who are entering the University of the West Indies and St. George's University. The meeting of the Association of Diocesan Priests from the province of Port of Spain has ended, with a call from Bishop Francis Allain for the Church to speak out on what must be done to overcome the cancer of crime and violence in the region. Diocesan priests from Trinidad and Tobago joined their regional counterparts in Guyana for the conference, which was held from August 26th to 29th. Roger Sant has more in this report.
Delivering the homily at the closing mass of the 4-day conference for diocesan priests of the province, Bishop Francis Allain highlighted issues of crime and violence, which he says affects every diocese in the region, and which CARICOM heads had sought to address at their conference in May.
And it's with great indignation and great alarm. Why is this the way it is? And for the Church to also just articulate, to say what is right, what must be done if we are to overcome this cancer in our region, in our world.
Bishop Allain lamented that no one is being spared, as anyone who speaks out is targeted.
They're trying to get rid of the voice, and certainly in the Amazon region that has happened to several persons, bishops, priests, religious laypersons, many indigenous people suffering at the hands of those who intend to perpetrate the ills.
He said Pope Francis is calling the Church to synodality, a new way of being church, to work together, to love each other, and to have the deepest respect for one another. Earlier in the week, the conference opened with a mass at which Catholic faithful were told of the importance of diocesan priests. With many swamped, there was a call for more to join the priesthood.
We are the ones that the bishop depends on to fulfill his mission. We are very few, as you can see. We need to encourage more young men to be brave enough to say yes to the call.
I'm Roger Sant reporting for Catholic News Altos.
Diocesan priests from Trinidad who attended the conference were Fathers Don Chambers, David Can, Simon Peter Angu, Wilfred John, and Harold Imamsha. Father Imamsha will join us later on Altos as we discuss the conference in greater detail. Abbot John Pereira is recuperating at the San Fernando General Hospital after undergoing emergency surgery for a ruptured ulcer earlier this week. In a Facebook post on Wednesday, Abbot John posted that 6 years ago he was at Subiaco in Italy at the General Chapter of the Congregation of the Annunciation and was looking forward to attending the World Congress of Benedictine Abbots being held this month at Sant Anselmo in Rome. However, Abbot John said he was unable to attend due to a sudden bout of illness which required immediate surgery. Following the surgery for the ruptured ulcer, Abbot John posted on Thursday, quote, "Sitting up this morning and doing well. I give San Fernando General Hospital a grade of 10 out of 10. I have been to hospitals in Colombia and Italy before. They have nothing above the quality of healthcare service that I'm receiving at San Fernando. The medical personnel is kind, caring, and efficient." End of quote. We here at Altos wish Abbot John a speedy recovery. Pope Francis is on an historic 12-day trip visiting 4 Asian Pacific countries: Indonesia, Singapore, Papua New Guinea, and Timor-Leste. It is the pontiff's longest overseas trip since he became pope in 2013. A mass attended by over 80,000 concluded his visit to his first stop, Indonesia. Rome Reports tells us more.
About 80,000 people gathered in this stadium to welcome Francis, the third pope to visit the country. Pope Francis directed his homily to all Indonesians, telling them it is not necessary to be a perfect Catholic, nor to have great projects, but it is important to be humble and to face failures with courage.
Non stancatevi di prendere il largo, non stancatevi di gettare le reti, non stancatevi di sognare, non stancatevi di sognare e costruire ancora una civiltà della pace. Osate sempre il sogno della fraternità, che è un vero tesoro fra voi. Sulla parola del Signore vi incoraggio a seminare amore, a percorrere fiduciosi la strada del dialogo, a praticare ancora la vostra bontà e gentilezza col sorriso tipico che vi contraddistingue.
Pope Francis also met with the Grand Imam of Indonesia while visiting the largest mosque in Southeast Asia in a gesture of harmony. It is now time for us to take a short break, and when we come back, we speak with Father Harold Imamsha about the provincial conference of diocesan priests in the region. Thanks very much for staying with us. Father Harold Imamsha is the parish priest in Carenage and chairman of the Association of Diocesan Priests of the province of Port of Spain. Father, welcome to the set of Altos.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here. Yes. You've just returned from the conference, of the annual conference of the Association of Diocesan Priests of the province of Port of Spain, which was held in Guyana. For the benefit of our viewers, what is a diocesan priest, and how does a diocesan priest differ from, let's say, a member of the religious order?
Yeah. Every bishop or archbishop has a squadron of priests, an army of priests of the diocese, and they help him in framing the vision, in completing the work, in caring for the faithful. So each priest lives in a parish. A religious priest of a religious order lives in a religious house and has a religious superior. So the work of the diocesan priest is to support the vision of the way forward of any bishop, the bishop that they work with.
The meeting that you just came from, it's an annual meeting, yes? What are some of the things you discuss in that meeting? And perhaps before you go there, tell us who are the other members of this province?
Yeah, the province is one of 3 or 4 in the Caribbean, with an archbishop at the head of each group or province. And the province of Port of Spain, named after the mother diocese, if you want, of that group, of that province. So Port of Spain, the Diocese of Georgetown in Guyana, the Diocese of Bridgetown in Barbados, the Diocese of Paramaribo in Suriname, and the Diocese of Willemstad in Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, and St. Martin.
And what are some of the matters that are discussed when all you brother priests come together?
Foremost in our mind might well be the conference given by Father Martin Sergiu, the Vicar General of this diocese, on friendship in the priesthood, friendship and support of one another, friendship of at least one supportive priest in our diocesan lifetime. Father Don Chambers did a lot of good work on seeing the Synodal Church as the bus in which all of us travel, with different passengers, different time schedules, sometimes a bit crowded, sometimes overcrowded. And I myself spoke with the brothers towards the end, looking specifically at the Son, Jesus the Son, as our model of partnership, of relationship, of relating patterns with the Father, never taking credit, but always depending on the Father. I guess what was a very big discussion was on vocations, because as in some of our dioceses, unbelievably, a priest may be parish priest of 6 or 7 parishes. Here in Trinidad, maybe 2 or 3, or 1. But as Monsignor Terence Montrose said in his opening mass, opening homily, that we're trying to do the work with fewer priests. So yes, those were the main topics.
I'm interested in Father Don's analogy of the bus sometimes being full, sometimes being empty. Mm-hmm. And based on what you said, we're running now on a bus that is about half full. Mm-hmm. Yeah? How are we as church dealing with that, the issue of vocations? What is the role of the diocesan priest in encouraging new vocations? What is the role of the archdiocese on the wider sense? And how are we encouraging new vocations to the priesthood?
Trinidad has a really wonderful vocations thrust with great teams of people seeing themselves as encouraging vocations. And quite naturally, we are able to see the work of the seminary in our own diocese. Other dioceses would send their candidates here to Trinidad. One of the ways that the association endeavors to meet young people, to introduce vocations, to encourage vocations, is to go into the schools in any territory that we visit, and make real contact with them. Here in Trinidad, since Fatima College is my alma mater, Father Gregory has invited all of us who are past students to come and hear confessions, to do masses. Any kind of contact would help young people to bridge the gap, but not to see the priest as somebody distant. So I would say contact with young people, young adults groups, even in the confirmation preparation is probably a very good idea to not only prepare young people for the vocation of marriage, but the vocation to religious life, to priesthood, the diaconate.
But Father, just as there is a shortage of priests, and by priests, and in this sense, of male figures in the Catholic Church serving as priests, there is also that shortage of male figures, of men at our masses. Mm-hmm. Throughout the archdiocese and in other dioceses, the number of men attending church is woefully abysmal compared to men. How are we going to bring men back into the church?
I think we need to revitalize the existing men's groups. I believe also we need to push a little bit more with those fathers who are married and even those who are unmarried to feel welcome, to feel part of the whole. Many more interactive groups of men cooking, repairing, cleaning, being mentors for young people. I would love to do more in that line myself.
As we talk synodality, you spoke of synodality in the opening. As we talk synodality here in the local church, do you see the development of a specific ministry towards men in the archdiocese?
There is one in the diocese. But sometimes I feel I only hear of things when I see a big conference, a big meeting, a big event. And it's necessary to hear more, do more in the background, in the less extravagant looking gatherings. Meet men where they're at, because not all men will attend a big event.
So I see you going out on the boats for St. Peter's Day, for instance. I see you going, and you're in Carenage, the home of the fishermen. Are we saying that we need to go and meet the men down on the fishing, at the fishing depot, the men where they are, on the basketball courts, wherever they find themselves, and as priests or as ministers of the church? That's part of the evangelization trust, to really go out there now and meet the men and then bring them back in?
Yes, I agree with that wholly and solely, with that meeting place, that integration. I have great success in the migrant ministry in the Northwest when I see men working in the grocery and they call out to me, and next I ask their name, and when I see them in the Spanish Mass, I address them by name. So contact is valuable, is precious.
One of the challenges that Bishop Alain spoke to was the whole question of crime, and he described crime as a cancer in the region, and of course the main perpetrators of crime are men. Yeah, what are your views in terms of our own situation here in Trinidad and Tobago, and certainly in the West where you are in Carenage, in terms of the crime, the spate of crime that we see?
When I first went to Carenage some years ago, the murder rate just began to climb within weeks of each murder, and I felt really sorry that as a church we weren't saying anything. So I took Thursdays to begin a mass in a different area, and I asked people, let's have a mass in a house, especially where somebody has died. And we were doing this for 6 weeks, and one day a lady said to me, she said, "Father, you know, the killings have stopped." So it's clear that when we bring prayer, when we unashamedly bring church outside of church, into the areas, into the families, that even the gangsters become more familiar with the church.
So the question then of meeting people where they are, the question of synodality, of bringing church outside of the building, that church exists outside of the building that is called the church. Should we then be pushing that more in terms of even our young people and meeting our young people where they are?
I think we should push it, but I don't think we should lose the home church, because when we go outside to build, we're doing it to bring them in to the home church.
When you went to Medjugorje recently, I suspect that must have been a tremendous experience for you. Mm-hmm. But you spoke then of the importance of men being in the church. Clearly it's a view that you share and are passionate about in terms of men in the church. How was that experience in Medjugorje for you? What did you see out there that you think we can bring back to Trinidad?
I'm very amused that Altos is keeping track of where I go.
Big Brother is watching, Father.
Yes, I have a passion about the presence of men returning to church, and in Medjugorje I saw thousands of people gathering every day for 4 or 5 masses throughout the day, adoration, and many families. So I got a chance to hear confessions, to speak to men, to speak to mothers and children. One of the mottos that Medjugorje uses is where heaven meets earth. And it really is heaven on earth. I like to say also that when people come for communion, heaven comes to meet earth at that very moment also.
What do you say to a young man listening to us this evening, listening to the program, who might think they have a calling to the priesthood? What do you say to them today?
I would say, come aboard. You're welcome. You're welcome to be part of this great family of priests.
Good. Father, thanks very much for sharing with us. It's always a pleasure speaking with you. I know you have other duties lined up for you for the rest of the day, so thank you very much. It's always good having you.
My pleasure.
Take care.
We are taking a leap of faith on Trinity TV. Jump in with us for this new and exciting experience.
Father Jonathan Steele is a young Carmelite priest who answered the call to priesthood, and he says he has no regrets and believes that God has called him to serve. Speaking to Altos recently, Father Jonathan issued an appeal to young people who have turned to crime to think about God's transformative love. Roger Sant has more in this report.
Father Jonathan Steele is 32 years old and he always wanted to have a family of his own. But one day in church, a particular homily touched him.
One day, Father Natterson was preaching that we need priests, and I just felt a movement within my heart saying, okay, Lord, I'm willing.
Having heard the call, he acted on it and applied to the diocese and was told to take 2 years to think about it. He used the time to do Bible studies, and then someone told him they were studying to be a third order Carmelite, and the rest is history.
I joined the Carmelites on this feeling of peace, recognizing God's peace, and recognizing that this is where God called me to be.
It took 8 years of study, but joining the priesthood for him has been a journey of faith. He was ordained earlier this year and is now at the St. Michael's RC Church in St. Joseph.
Follow God's guidance and don't be afraid of where he leads you. But it's a faith journey. You wouldn't know until you reach the destination. And still, even there, it takes faith to be faithful.
For those who may be pondering whether the priesthood is their calling, he urged them to be open to God's voice. And he urged the young people who have gravitated to crime to think about God's transformative love.
One of the important things is that we all know that we are loved by God. And so even those who may have turned to crime for whatever reason, to know that God loves you and he longs for you as well. And to be open to God's love. I think God's love is transformative for everybody.
I'm Roger Sant reporting for Catholic News Altos.
The Office of Youth Ministry hosted their futsal competition on Saturday, August 24th at the Maloney Indoor Sports Facility. Chaguanas Parish emerged champions in the teenagers category, while Holy Trinity Aruca took first place in the young adult category. Special awards were distributed in both categories for Golden Glove, Golden Boot, MVP Male and MVP Female. Final placings and more information on the Shepherd's Cup competition are available on the Catholic Youth Commission's Facebook page. The July-August vacation has ended and children have returned to the classrooms, but for some, they are fond memories that will stay with them forever. Like these youngsters, aged 6 to 17, from the St. Philip and St. James Roman Catholic Church in Chaguanas, who had fun during an art camp held in early August. They participated in activities such as making stained glass in the shape of a leaf, a version of the cross made out of stained glass, and a collage of a landscape, as well as many other activities. The group also went on a field trip to the St. Anne's RC Church, where they viewed the stained glass windows with images of St. Anne, St. Joachim, and the Blessed Virgin Mary. They paid a visit to the Red House to view an exhibition on the steel pan, which has been officially declared the national instrument of Trinidad and Tobago. The children were also taken on a tour of the upper and lower houses of Parliament, where they were educated on the history of the Red House, about parliamentary sittings, the mace, the 1990 insurrection, and the 1903 water riots. The children described it as a great experience, with many saying they are looking forward to the next camp. And now Catholic News editor Simone DeLochan gives us a preview of what's in store in this week's edition of the Catholic News.
In this week's Catholic News, have you considered that you are supposed to have main character energy? Read Daniel Francis's reflection on it and check out the reasons behind the publication of a new children's book, Cindy's Special Leg. I am Simone DeLochan, Associate Editor of the Catholic News.
And that's a wrap on this week's edition of Altos. Have a good weekend and a week ahead. Remember to pray, read your Bible, and learn your faith. We leave you this evening with some sights and sounds of a culinary cookout held at Archbishop's house recently. Do have a good week, everyone.
Altos was brought to you with the kind compliments of Rituals Coffee House.